Hi. We're going to begin our Psoas series with a pose called Anjaneasana. I'm sure it's a familiar pose to you. It's a low lunge. And I'd like for us to use our pelvis in a very specific way in this pose so that it really benefits us. So we'll start on hands and knees. And if you'd like to do a couple of cat-cows or circles or movements, please go for it. Now make sure that your feet are directly behind your knees and decide, do I want my toes tucked? Do I want my toes pointed? Either one is fine. Step your right foot forward in between your hands. Make your legs as wide as your sit bones. Walk your back knee back enough that your knee's a little bit behind your hips. Okay, and then once you drill that right foot down into the floor, pull back on that heel, then you can roll yourself up. We'll put our hands on our front thigh and we'll just get as tall as we possibly can, just warming ourselves up into this pose. Try to shift your hips around a little bit so they're the same height, so that they're both pointing forward. Okay, and what we're going to play with is using cat-cow in this position to try to warm up the pelvis and try to figure out where center actually is. So as you inhale, tip your tailbone back, tip the top of your pelvis forward, and this is accentuating the curve in your low back. As you exhale, tuck your tailbone under, tip the top of your pelvis back, and this is accentuating the lengthening of your low back. Please tip forward and tuck under, and then tip forward with an inhale, and then tuck under. And then find the middle point between the two, where you're not tucked and you're not tipping, but you're just right in the middle. You have a slight curve in your lumbar spine. And from there, you're feeling hopefully maybe a little bit of a stretch across the front of your left thigh. That's your back leg. And with your pelvis in this neutral position, you can get all the way up into the hip crease as opposed to just in the quads. Okay? And now from here, from this neutral pelvis, we're going to shift a little bit forward. Come back and shift a little bit forward and come back and shift a little bit forward. Okay? And then from there, we're deciding, am I shifting forward my entire pelvis or am I just dropping the front of my pelvis forward? Okay, so neutral pelvis, shift our way forward, push our right foot down and pull back. Maybe from here you lengthen your sides, take your hands behind your skull and press back, just trying to get nice and tall in this pose. Inhale deeply, exhale completely. One more inhale. And then exhale, plant your hands down, step back onto hands and knees, and move your whole body through cat and cow. One more time. Inhale, neutral. Exhale, step your left foot forward. Square our hips to the front. Right foot directly in line with right knee. Lean our hips a little forward of our back knee. Front knee on top of ankle. Roll ourselves up. Inhale, tip our pelvis forward. Exhale, tip our pelvis back. Inhale, tip the top of your pelvis forward. Exhale, tip it back. Inhale, tip forward. Exhale, tip back. Inhale, find a neutral position and take both of your hips forward. And then pull both of your hips out of the pose. And then both of your hips into the pose. Both of your hips out of the pose. And then let's find it. Anjaneasana, this low lunge position. Our front foot is firmly planted on the floor. The hamstrings on our front leg are active. Our back leg is pushing down and pulling forward. Okay? And we feel this stretch all the way up the right thigh, up to the hip crease. And it's not that there's this strain at the hip flexors because your pelvis is neutral. If you were to tuck your tail under here, you feel this thigh bone feel like it's popping forward in the hip socket. That's why we're not tucking. That's why we're neutral. We have a little bit of a curve in the low back. Now inhale. Bring the hands behind the skull. Get as tall as you can. Exhale. Push both feet down. Inhale. Complete exhale. And then let's make our way. One more inhale. And make our way out of the pose. Exhale. Hands on the floor. Step back. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. And inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Take our knees wide. Sit our hips back, child's pose. Thank you for joining.